This is Atlas's 39th session. We're gonna work on standing relaxed first. So I just have him positioned to one side of me. Doesn't matter which side. I usually start on the left because usually they're used to being on that side more. Used to you being on that side more. So I'm just gonna stand next to him for 1 second and then click and then feed him. So I'm gonna build up from that 1 second. And then while he's eating, he's also practicing it too. So once he stops chewing, I'm gonna click and then feed again. I'm just using some hay in a bag here because we're working on building up until he'll take like some alfalfa pellets or a alfalfa cube piece from my hand. He's still a little worried about that. So I'm just rolling it up and then feeding it to him so he can get used to touching my hand when getting food. So I'm gonna wait, and then he stands nice and quiet and relaxed, so I'll click and then give him a treat. So I want his neck nice and level. I want his eye relaxed. I want him not really moving. Not bobbing his head up and down or anything. And then I'll click and then feed him. So I'm only giving him like just a second for him to just stand like that. That's all I'm looking for. Then we'll go ahead and do it on the other side. So he did it like 3 or 4 times really nice right there. He let me walk in front of him and he didn't move. And I can stand next to him, so I'm gonna click and feed that. So it seems like a dumb thing to do, like, oh, of course he's gonna stand there, but a lot of horses don't stand still. So your stand still and your relaxation should be your default behavior. Like right here, he's being perfect. He's got his ears nice and relaxed, his neck was nice and relaxed. I clicked him for it. He's looking over at me a bit, but it's just because I've already clicked him and I'm getting his treat ready. So practicing those default behaviors are super, super important. Like all the horses that don't want to stand still. Obviously right now I'm in his pasture, so he's more likely to stand still, but you take him to a different environment, the standstill is really important. So, but here he's being really great. He's kind of looking to me like, oh, you gonna give me a treat? And he's investigating. At this point, I'm gonna let him investigate and click him for that because he's usually a really shy, worried, not very curious horse sometimes, but he'll like let that anxiousness take over. So he's just kind of stiff in my bag. So I'm gonna click him and feed him. I want to really tell him that curiosity is good. Like, yes, I want you to be curious and investigate things and not be afraid. So obviously I wouldn't do this with a horse that's really pushy, wants to come in my space. With Atlas, it's a different story, but there is a fine line. So I'm just letting him he scared himself. He was sniffing the bag and was like, oh, it was a little scary. I wouldn't do that too much, the clicking and feeding for him not being in position. I do want the head straight. I'm just letting him sniff here. And he's just investigating, which is good. I want that curiosity, but I'll click him for that. But for overall, the behavior is that I want him to stand straight, head straight, neck straight, relaxed. I'll click and feed. I'll start at 1 second and then you can build up. I like to do, like in this video, he's done 1 second of standing and I'll click and feed for that 1 second where he's just kind of standing there. And then I'll switch sides and then I'll build up from that. So 2 seconds staying there. So I'll just count and then click to him and then do that. And you just build up from there. And you do that with all the behaviors. So like foot lifting, wearing a saddle pad, all those kinds of things. So now he just wants to kind of sniff, and then he straightened his head away from me, and so I clicked and fed. So that looks pretty good. Not too bad. So we're on a bit of leading. So I've taught him to target my hand before. So once he touches it there, he just took a couple steps to let him touch it. I'll click and feed him. So I just started at a standstill. I believe there's a previous video of it where he just touches my hand, and every time he touches it I'll click and feed, and then I'll just take a step, and then if he follows I'll click for him moving forward and then click again when he touches my hand, and then we just build up the steps just like we built up the time he stood still next to me. So a couple more steps, I'll click him for that, and then wait till he touches it here because I want the go forward to be shown. There we go. So I'll click again, then I'll feed. I want to point out to him that the going forward and the leading is what I want. But I also want him to keep wanting to touch that target too. That's why I click for both. So he took a couple steps forward, I clicked for that, and then he kind of stopped and paused, and I waited for him to touch my hand, and then I clicked again. So I like having, especially the Mustangs, to follow my hand as a target and be more maneuverable like that, because it makes my life so much easier. I'll get myself doing it to my other horses that I haven't taught, and I'm like, man, that would have been easier to get you to maneuver, because they'll just go wherever and I don't have to have a halter and lead rope, so that's super handy. But I'm just having him go both sides with me leading on either side of him. So there, he's following right away. So I kind of walked off there before I presented my hand as a target. So I want him to start noticing that pre-cue. So I walk away, he follows, and then he gets the target versus just following my hand. So there we go, follows, and then I'll click to him and I'll feed him. And there I faded out the target. So that's a very sped up process of it. You might have to go a bit slower and really keep your hand as a target, and you can also use a crop or a handmade target. When you buy, it doesn't matter. My hand is just easiest because they're always attached, so I don't have to find my whip because I'm always losing my whip. So this works out really, really good. But this is really cool. It's a really sped up version of it, but it shows the whole process in that one version, and you might have to really slow down and teach your horse in much smaller steps. So we're going to start working on petting down the legs. So this is the same day it started raining, so I just got my hat, and then I think it stopped raining. But so we're using that first behavior that I taught him where he just stands still, which he's moving at the moment, but and I want to just slide my hand down his leg and then I'll click and feed. So once he was standing still for just a second and my hand was on his leg, I clicked and fed. So again, I'm going to start on his neck, work my way down. I haven't gone that far yet, so as soon as my hand touched like his pastern area, I clicked and fed. And he has this habit where he wants to kind of lean into me, and at the time I was like, okay, that's fine, because he wants to be near me, and before he's very standoffish. Now he has that still, and it's just kind of annoying. It's a less version. He's not being pushy, he's not pushing into me and like making me move. He just kind of wants to be near me, which is annoying as well, so we're trying to overcome that, but that's just something to look out for. He does not do it on the right side. So it's interesting. I sped this up here. I'm just touching on this pastern, and every time he stands still and my hand's on his pastern, like right there, I click and then I feed. So, but you can see now that this is sped up that he's moved, like we've pivoted like a half circle, and he's moved every single time. So that's just something to look out for when you're teaching that behavior. Make sure they're not leaning and doing anything else. You want them completely straight and still, and then work on that. But it's interesting because you'll see in a second me go to the other side and he doesn't do it on that side. But now it's just something that I kind of have to go ahead and fix because he's had that in there since the beginning. Because at the beginning I was like, okay, well that's fine because he's more standoffish. I want him to be near me anyway, and so that's how that got left in there. But that's just something to look out for. But we're just working my way there. I'm going to move him over here to the other side. He's doing some excellent leading here. He doesn't have to use the hand target. I'll position him here just for the camera. And then I'm going to just start on his neck here. I'm getting him used to just me touching on his neck and messing with his hair and stuff like that. So just kind of acting more like a normal horse. He's been so standoffish, and he's got to get used to petting as something nice. So there I touched his shoulder. I'm going to click and feed him. And it's weird with the Mustangs because you don't think of petting as aversive and like something that they wouldn't want. But for them, they really have to get used to letting you touch them and being okay with that. So it's a very interesting process. But we're just working our way down here from his shoulder on his chest. He lets me touch his chest. I'll click him for that. And then we'll go down his leg, click him there when my hand was there. And this is much better. This is how it should look. It shouldn't be him kind of shuffling over closer to me. He kind of leans a little bit there, but it's definitely not the same as on his left side. He's standing nice and still here. He's letting me pet him. Very nice. And my hand goes to his knee, and I'll click and feed. And really, if Atlas is being really quiet here and very good, if your horse is kind of fidgeting, needs to take a bit more time, I would do that same repetition. So I would touch his shoulder, click feed. I would do that 3 times and then move slightly down, just like a couple inches. You might have to go smaller than that, and then touch like the top of his front leg, and then click feed. Do that 3 times in a row while he's nice and relaxed. Then touch his knee, and so on all the way down to his leg. You might have to really break it down a bit more. It's broken down a lot here because this is sped up. I clicked there because I touched my hands on both sides of his nose, which is kind of a big deal for him. Like right here again, click that. Very nice. So all those little me petting him with 2 hands, me messing with his hair, all those things are just little things that I have to click a reward. But this is just a sped up version. He's kind of in the middle of breaking things down. Some horses can go a lot faster. Some need it broken down even more. So that's just something to think about when training.